everyone. Welcome to Conversations on Data. I'm your host, Avish Madhopati. I'm delighted to have with me today Arshad Ejaz. Arshad is an ex-PwC and he presently works with KPMG. He is an engineer from NIT Durgapur and has done an MBA from IIT Delhi. Arshad has also been featured by Tableau as a Tableau featured author, and he is an expert at data visualization. He's Tableau certified associate and Alteryx designer code certified. I'm delighted to have him with me here today. And we're going to talk about anything and everything related to data visualization and starting your career and learning Tableau. Hi, Arshad. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Avish. Thanks a lot for having me here.
No, it's absolutely our pleasure. To start off with, could you share with us a little bit about your journey, your education background, and how you ended up working with KPMG?
Sure. So my name is Arshad Ejaz. I done most of my schooling in Kolkata, and post completing my schooling, I joined NIT Durgapur. From there, I've completed my BTech 4 years, electronics engineering, and post that, I can say that I got my first taste of the data industry. So I joined BirlaSoft India Limited, based in Noida, and there I got a fantastic opportunity to start with the data world from the scratch, and I'm really thankful to my mentors over there. So we started with very basic concepts of data and pushing on to more complex ETL tools and so on. Post that, I successfully qualified for CAT, and I joined DMS IIT Delhi for my 2-year management course. Uh, Post that, I have two major work experiences. The first one is PwC SDC Kolkata. There I've continued my data journey, and it's particularly vital because that's where I started working with Tableau. Post that, I have recently joined last year, November. I have joined KPMG Global Services, and to be very honest, it's an expansion of my previous work. So it's not just data visualization; it's a lot more about including social media analytics and other things as well. So currently, I am my primary my focus has always been on data visualization using Tableau, and I am currently a featured author as well. This was in the month of September, and it feels great to be the part of the Data Fam family. And yeah, so this has been my journey so far. Uh,
Amazing. So there are many things that I want to discuss with you. And
yeah,
most of my work happens on Power BI. And of course, you work on Tableau. I work on Tableau a little bit as well. So it's
yeah,
interesting to share notes and see similarities
yeah,
and dissimilarities.
yeah,
The first thing I want to talk about is some misconceptions around data visualization. It's one of those terms where every BSchool student thinks they know what it is, right?
yeah,
But then when you actually dive deep into it, you realize that it's much more than just creating a chart, right?
yeah,
Like there is an entire process to it. And then it's not just about the tool, it's also about the background to it, the selection of the chart,
yeah.
what is the insight you're trying to present. So if you could just share something about that, what your learnings have been, and what, as a student, if you can think back, some misconceptions about data visualization that are there.
Yeah, sure. Uh, like most other fields, someone who is not actually, involved into the data visualization universe, they are born to be misconceptions. Uh, Honestly, there were a lot for me before I started work on Tableau. People have a lot of misconceptions about the tool as well, as to it's limited when it comes to functionality, and it might go into the background, and it might not have some other features or development backing that other tools may have. But yeah, these are all misconceptions. So the first thing about data visualization is misconception, which I think is that people think that the tools are not that intuitive. Let's say we are looking at Tableau or Power BI. When you open up and you see a lot of complexities, and people tend to take a step back. But contrary to this, if you speak to anyone who has started working on Tableau and Power BI, the first thing that will tell you that they are actually very intuitive. If you take account into visualization using R and Tableau, which most data visualization data science professionals are into, it can be a bit tedious because you first need to understand the basic steps of coding, and then you go into it's a, let's say, a very generic sandbox mode with coding tools. But with tools like Tableau and Power BI, you have an interface, and the aim of these organizations is to make it very, very intuitive, especially to business users. For someone who is coming out of a B school, they might not have the time, patience, or especially the requirement to dig very down into the nitty gritties of data visualization. They might need some quick charts, some beautiful representations of their data for a quick report, or to put it into their slides, decks, or presentations. So this is what people working on, developers working on Tableau and Power BI, they understand. And I can speak for Tableau. Uh, Data loading is a very easy job. You open it up right on your face. You can see the number of different connection options. You select those. Even if you are using Excel, Tableau has a data connector, so it's very intuitively very easy to load up data and process it. And when you move on to the individual sheets, you have columns, rows, everything labeled out so neat. To be very honest, you can take up a quick course, 5 minutes from any tutorial on YouTube, and you'll get the basics very, very fast. So yeah, that they are not intuitive is a total myth. They are very intuitive, very easy to learn. The other part I'll say, another misconception related to this very issue is people say that it's very difficult to create complex charts, or unless you have pre-built templates, uh, which Tableau does not have. It does have, but on your default desktop version, you don't have those. Apart from the help me button. So the thing is, what Tableau is actually doing is giving you a sandbox. It's giving you the basics. It's giving you control over the basic marks. And as a user, you have full power, and it's just your dedication and the time you invest. You can create some of the most astonishing and most complex charts that they can ever be, including some really, really helpful interactivity and drill-down features. Now, there is going to be a long learning curve for this, as it is for every tool. To be recognized as a Tableau expert, the way I'm a certified a featured author, so it takes time. It took me 2 to 3 years of dedication. I took time out of my regular work to try to understand. I mean, there's a huge community behind it. You take the help, and you can rise to their level very, very fast. Uh, the other misconception is that charts can be sometimes very tedious. Uh, they might not. They might end up, hiding a lot more insights than they are at bringing out. Uh, you should look at this way that maybe the person who is creating those is making the mistake. Uh, See. Not every chart is there for every usage. As a data visualization expert, you need to understand that what am I trying to show to the end user, and not introduce unnecessary complexity to get your point across. You do not need any kind of complex visual or very stunning visual, or need to take a lot of help from Figma or Photoshop to get your point across. Okay, so there is this misconception that people think, okay, this is a very beautiful complex chart. This is going to do me a lot of help. That's not. Believe believe me or not, bar charts are the best. You cannot simply beat them when it comes to communicating data. Next part, I think I'll just take a small step back as to data visualization. Whenever we say this, there's a misconception depending upon what field we are generally in. Maybe if you are in the field of more advertising, so it could be infographics for you. As a professional, for me, when I hear data visualization, the first term that comes to my mind is our business dashboard. So data visualization is, let's say, a very generic term. It's becoming a generic term. There are so many ways of putting your data across, and it really depends on the number of purposes that it serves, the end client, the end user. So, there is a place for each of them. When you are putting it out on a newspaper to communicate some quick issue, to highlight a certain point, you are using infographic. When you have a business user, then you have a certain, certain methodology that you need to follow, certain points that you need to take care of, especially with drill down features. You need to be able to go down into places where the business user might need to go to. So this is very important when it comes to business dashboard. So this is another thing that you need to take care of. Another thing related to this is that people think, hey, it's a beautiful chart. This is a very nice visualization. This is so good. That and the developer has done a great job at creating this. Not necessarily. I would recommend uh, people to take a step back and really try to understand uh, what the visual is trying to tell you. And here comes a very, very important concept of data storytelling, which we ignore a lot. So, data storytelling is the primary, contrary to what people believe, like people just get attracted to beautiful charts. That's not the fact. The most important thing is data storytelling. It should be able to engage the end audience. Uh, it should tell them, give them something to hold on to. It should be like a movie. You just start with telling what are you looking at, what is the issue here, then try to highlight, out of the pool of data, that what supports your hypothesis, and then create further diversions, subdiversions into trying to actually point out a solution. I mean, you might not be throwing out a solution, but then highlighting those parts of the data which give you the overall picture. I mean, you have to make the data give you a story, make more meaning, rather than put all the onus on the end user to drill down and get every information out. So this is also something that's very important. And for business users especially, our job is not to make visuals. Our job is to make a client solution, and this is where data story telling will give you the edge which you need.
Yeah, I think those points are very helpful. And I think it sums up very well the last thing that you said, that the job is not to make a visual, right? The job is to create a solution. Visuals are a means to that end. So
Yeah,
you want to make a pretty chart, or you want to create a storytelling narrative to
yeah,
engage the audience, right? To make them want to go through the report and be able to extract the insights themselves. But
yeah,
then the objective is not to make a chart and win a competition, right?
right.
Absolutely. If I can just talk a little bit more about the data cleaning bit, right?
Yeah,
I teach at a lot of business schools. And what ends up happening is that I tell them I always follow a thumb rule of 80-20, that 80% of my time will always go into the data preparation, wrangling part. And only 20% of the time goes into the visualization bit.
yeah.
In fact, if I don't spend the time on the data preparation, when I start creating the visuals, I'll have to face that challenge, right? It will become more difficult because at that moment, I might have to go back and make a few changes to the source data. So, what would your take be on that, on the data cleaning, preparation, or the data wrangling bit?
So someone, for a novice, it's very attractive. You put in some data into Power BI and Tableau, you get charts, you get excited, you put them into your slide. and you just jot down whatever highlights you get from the data. This is something what everyone does till they are jolted back to reality. And this happens with everyone who is working with data. And this is the step when they realize making charts is the easy part. The tool is going to do it for you, but cleaning the data, that's your actual job. To be very honest, it doesn't matter data visualization, data science, machine learning, anything. The most time consuming and most important part is what you're looking at and how correctly are you looking at. And this is not possible without data cleaning and data preparation. I'll give you a very small example. Towards when I had joined, PwC, and we was given a sample data to work on as a practice just before we were given our actual project. And so we all created a charts in Tableau, made the dashboards, and delivered it to my senior. He had a look at those, and he off the bat he said, this is all garbage. This is wrong. So we feel like we had spent so much of time preparing this, and so where is it wrong? So he said, look at these. So there were two client names, top 10 clients we had put out on the dashboard, and he said, look at the first and the seventh name. So it was something limited and then something corporation. So do you think this could be same? Could be a name mistake or something? And I'm just standing there blank. I said, yeah, maybe could be. Uh, then he looked at the overall sales figure. So it was transactional data, so overall sales figure, and he told me that this is not correct. This is the actual value that should be. And I said, no, I have correctly inputted all the data, didn't miss anything. So he said, is your sales figures negative by any chance for any of the rows? So I said, yeah. So when you go and buy something, can it ever be negative? So I said, no. So why didn't you check it? So I was like, again, this is another, obvious oversight. So he said this is basically a return. So the consumer has returned this, and this is why the sales value is negative. So this went on for another half an hour. I don't remember exactly, but my senior was able to pinpoint so many mistakes that I have made while looking at the data. Basically, I hadn't looked at the data at all. The major disconnect here is uh, this is data for us. For someone, it's a business. And without understanding the data, you can never ever make out any insights, at least not accurately. So the first step is whenever a BSchool students, when you're going to go to your workplaces, start working with data, the best person, your god is going to be the client or whoever is the engagement team who had first hand knowledge on how the data is being collected, how is it being processed, how is it being stored. And it's very important to keep your communication channels open, because believe it or not, 90% of the time, I'm going to go above 80%, 90% of the time, even after you're done preparing with the dashboards and you send it for review, when the client looks at it, he's also going to have certain comments and reservations about the data. They would want to eliminate some parts because they think that could obscure the output. And especially with respect to cleaning, so the way the system, the POS system is capturing your data, it also related to the kind of nature of business it is. So it's going to capture returns. I'm talking strictly in the space of transactional data. So returns, warranty claims, everything is going to be captured in a different way. So this is what the business person can tell you. Okay, we are going to capture this data in this way, or your numbers are going to be, some places your numbers are going to be missing. So there is all business sense behind it. See, most of the time, the system is not going to make a mistake while capturing the data. It's perfectly, it knows what it has to do. But when we are converting that to information before we put it into our visualization tool, it's very important that we learn to make sense of it. We make cuts out of it, prepare it, and especially when it comes to data preparation, you have to understand what are the end charts, what are the end visuals that you're going to make. In Tableau, I can say sometimes some charts need the data to be pivoted around certain fields. So you have to understand So we honestly we never work with a specific you know just a specific Tableau tool. I also have Alteryx in my portfolio because I need a data wrangling tool. I need a data preparation tool. So what I'm delivering to the client is not just my dashboard. It's also so for some it may be Python code to load the data from the data lake or the SQL source readily. You just need to run the code, prepare the output. The output is stored in a fixed location, and your hosted dashboard is connected to this output. So there is always a layer whenever you are updating data. There is always a layer behind it, which is going to prepare this data time and again into the correct tables so that your visualization tool can absorb it easily. Your tool mostly is not very focused on what kind of data is coming in, if there is garbage or not. It's just going to take it and throw it on your dashboard. It's your job at the back end to ensure that it's correct. And you also have to think a step forward. Maybe you are making some calculation regarding, you have leap years or 53 week work years. So you have these situations and you need to understand how you're going to deal with them. So all this come into the data preparation part, and this is the importance of this can never be understated. I mean, that's 90% of the job, and once that done, for an expert for like me, I do not need I mean, I have my charts ready. I know exactly how to make them. It doesn't take a fraction of the whole time, and mostly what I spend time in is cleaning the data, getting it reviewed, getting to know more about the data. Visualization, actual visualization takes a very little time, and the next part is formatting. It also takes a huge chunk of time because you need to, you get honestly, you get really ugly charts when you just drag and drop. You need to do a lot of formatting, a lot of highlighting as well, to make sure that whatever story that you are making, that gets correctly across to the user. And also there now you have a lot of interactivity. You don't have static charts, especially with business dashboards. You need to put in a lot of interactive elements as well. So that is also a phase where you need to put in a lot of effort and make sure whenever you use a, so users are mischievous, they can click here and there, to make sure you don't and they don't end up clicking places they don't want to click. And whenever they click, whenever they drill down, the end, the before after visual, the shift in the data structure, the not the data structure, the data visual will be appropriate. Everything, labels, fonts, sizes, everything should be perfect. So yeah, a data prep and post visual preparation, your data organization, these parts are very, very important.
Right. You mentioned about how Tableau can make wonderful and at the same time these horrible visuals. If you randomly start clicking in different places, sometimes you will
Yeah,
get an output which you don't make any sense out of, right?
yeah,
Power BI, I feel in that way is better because
yeah,
it stops you from putting something in the field if it is not
exactly.
permitted. Tableau, on the other hand, will almost never stop you. If I
No,
if I want to drag my customer name into the label, it will do it. It won't stop me from doing
absolutely.
it.
Most
But the good thing is that is also what makes Tableau so flexible. The
exactly.
quality of visuals and infographics specifically that I can
Yeah,
make on Tableau, we can't do that in Power BI, right?
yeah,
Because Power BI is more rigid in its scope. You have
yeah,
these samples available, you have the store available, but you
yeah,
can't really experiment too much with that. I mean,
yeah,
sure, as a developer, I have the charticulator, I can use D3JS, but then for the
yeah,
normal user, they will never have the capability, right, of doing all those things. One more very interesting point you mentioned was about the formatting bit. That's what, again, a lot of people don't realize that formatting might not sound exciting. I don't think it's exciting for anybody. Even
no, it's not.
when I will not like spending 30 minutes getting the color right and getting the
Yeah,
contrast right, and sometimes the font doesn't work properly. But then it's important, right? Because users, like you said, will do what they want to do, right? And as a developer, we can't tell the user where to click and what to do. I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? The client has all
yeah,
the right to consume the data the way they want to. And if we are not,
yeah,
sometimes giving them freedom, sometimes taking the freedom away from them.
exactly,
I always tell students that when you're creating a dashboard, a very simple example would be don't give them a drill down option if you don't want them to drill down, right?
exactly.
Because otherwise the client will come back and say, oh, I clicked on the drill down 4 times, I went to the D level, but it doesn't make any sense. But why did you even give them the option to do that, right? You have to stop giving complete freedom to the client, and you have, and that's a tough call, because clients are going to ask for freedom, but sometimes when you know it's not in their best interest, you have to keep that in mind. Okay, the next thing I would like to talk about is you've been working on Tableau for a while. What are the changes that will come in the next few years that you are most excited about?
So Tableau is a very, as I mentioned, it's a very just a sandbox. It's very raw tool compared to Power BI, and that's why it's so powerful for creating infographics as well, apart from business dashboards. So yeah, over the years, some of the advancements that have been made, especially with Tableau 9, I think they had launched LOD calculations, and they are such a powerful tool. You can look at granularity levels that are not in the data, and it has been a game changer for Tableau. One another aspect which was recently launched, I think with in 2020.4, they launched map layers. So basically on a single map, you have multiple, so you have colors by state, then you can use shapes on it, different shapes on it, different layers, just infinite number of layers you can add to put a lot of information into the map. And what people have been able to do, I mean, it's now an open secret. We have been able to use map layers to create, so the dual synchronization, the dual axis would allow 2 types of marks. Now we are able to use map layers to put unlimited number of marks on, and on a bar chart. So you can have a bar chart, on top of it you have a line chart, and then you can put a pie chart somewhere on top of it. So this has also been is kind of a hack into Tableau. So we are able to use it to put more information on a single chart. Tableau has been exhaustively working on improvement. In fact, today I saw a post that 2022.1 is going to come, and they have going to put a number of updated features as well. So specifically Tableau, what is the vision? It's a bit difficult to express for me, but for the data visualization field, one thing is very clear, that all of them are trying to make a one-stop solution. I think that's what every business user wants. They want the product, uh, the data extraction part, the data cleaning part, the data processing part, the data visualization part should be put down into a single tool, which should be accessible and by all other data environments. So this is an never-ending process, because we are continuously having different platforms where you can put your visuals into, and I think everyone is going to work a lot into this. Second part is a bit of, let's say, automation of analytics. So a lot of analytics, what people want, business users especially, they should be able to like drag and drop and get a analysis ready. They want the tool to understand the data by itself and do some very basic, let's say that basic things are already being done. They want a lot of more complex analysis to be done by the tool itself. So these 2 things, I believe, almost Power BI, Tableau, everyone is working on this, and these are going to drive the competition. So yeah, primarily I think they are going to work on this.
Right. I would like to ask you also about natural language, since I haven't worked with, I mean, I do work with Tableau level of data expressions quite a bit. But then from a natural language perspective, there is an update going to come to Power BI in the next couple of months for natural language tags. At the moment, how Q&A works in Power BI is that I can ask simple questions like, show me my top 10 customers, or show me my sales by state as a map, right? But I can't really do much else with it. So what has been planned, I think, in the March or the April update is that we will have natural language tags. So I can essentially write what is my running total for the last 3 months, right? And or what is my rolling average, and it will create like a nested tags query with about 4 or 5 functions in it. Now that's fantastic, because for a lot of users who are just starting learning DAX, in the case of Power BI, it's an easy way for them to at least get the auto-generated formula, and then probably should help them, start that journey. So what is a natural language bit in Tableau that is already there today, and what you expect to happen in the future?
Yes. So from my experience, I have worked a lot on, not a lot, but yeah, some part on NLP. So basically, what we are doing is we are looking into social media data and we are processing it, trying to understand the sentiment. Currently, we are not using Tableau for it. Currently, we are using some online tools. But I think this is a way to go forward. I mean, visualization tools have so far been working on very constructive data. Text data, somehow it has been exclusively kept towards data science, towards Python and R. We can, yes, they are handling it perfectly well. So this is actually one of the biggest challenges, the volume of data that you're looking into. So there are constraints for Power BI and Tableau as well. But more so as we move into these gray areas where, where we are looking into AI to do some of the intelligence work for us, and as well as improve a lot on the automation aspect. I'm sure Tableau is going to put a lot into it. They have implemented, so these are add-on features like Einstein Analytics that they're using for the assistance. But yeah, sure. I think that into the default database desktop structure, they are going to introduce. We have some basic analytics for trend lines and correlations and other things. But yeah, I think maybe in the next few years we will have all these processes enabled, especially with respect to text processing, because this is going to be huge. The amount of data, as we know, it generated on social media, it's immense, and the value that we are seeing in our day-to-day work, it's immense. I mean, companies want to know what people are talking about it on each and every platform. And yeah, I'm positive that these things are going to get very accessible into Tableau desktop as well. Very soon.
So coming to the last question, I think the most important one for students who are about to start their journey learning Tableau. And this is the question to which I don't have an answer. Sometimes I feel that starting from basic, going to intermediate, going to advanced is a better way. So first learn the visuals, then do a little bit of formatting, create the dashboard and the story, and then at the end go to level of detail. So first to calculated field, then parameter, then LOD. Sometimes I feel a reverse approach might also not be a bad idea, because you can always tackle a slightly bigger problem. Take a problem where there are 7, 8 things happening in it, and then deconstruct it and break it down so that in one example you're able to learn different things, rather than do it in baby steps. Why don't we tackle a bigger problem and do it? Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes in my training I feel a step-by-step approach works well. Sometimes I feel that tackling a bigger, a broader problem is a better way, because that's more of a case study format, right? So we're not saying, okay, first let's create a pie chart, and now let's create a donut, and now let's create a line. Why don't we tackle everything at the same time? So what would your advice be to BSchool students, those of you who, let's say, so far haven't worked on Tableau at all? Should they do it little by little, or should they go to the deep end of the pool and tackle the tougher problems?
It actually depends upon the user. I mean, the student himself. So both of the solutions that you provided, both of the styles are perfectly okay, but it depends upon the person. When I started, so basically, if you are a novice with data, so when I started with Tableau, I had total background about data. I know about data grouping, summarization, data normalization, different structures. I was very, very clear about data structures. If you don't have an understanding about data structures, you are going to struggle so much into this field. I mean, 90% about this field is about understanding the data you're working with. And data structure is absolutely a very, very important. And I'm going to, I can't stress it enough how important is it to understand data structures, because some of the colleagues, freshers which I have worked with, I mean, they struggle so much at this very basic concept because they just jump into data visualization. They don't understand why the data is looking in a certain way. They don't understand how to make the correct representations of the data. So for a novice, it's absolutely vital that you get your data, structures, concepts very clear. So since these are very clear to me, I took the other approach with Tableau. I straight up went to search for where the data data fan community is on Twitter, and I started looking directly at the very complex charts that they were making. I tried to re-engineer them and try to understand how are people actually hacking into Tableau to make these very complex out of the world visuals. And that is how where my journey began, and that is where I saw people on the data farm community. So Twitter has this hashtag data farm community, and it hosts all the Tableau Zen masters. So now Tableau visionaries, everyone is right there. You make any visualization, you can post it over there, and they'll be reviewing your work voluntarily. So this is the best place to be for anyone who's starting off with Tableau. And it's very important that you get your concept clear, and then you are free to do whichever way it feels comfortable.
Yeah, I think
So
that's a fair answer. I think we
yeah,
should do what we feel is best, but it's good to explore and then figure
yeah,
out what works for you. Um, just as an add-on to that, what I have realized is that sometimes you have to force yourself to get out of your comfort zone. And
exactly.
a lot of people give up after 2 hours. They think, oh, my formula is not working. Let me
Yeah,
do it in a different way, or let me break it down into three intermediary steps. But if you persevere during that time, and you read like 10 articles, and you spend a day figuring out that formula, you only have to learn it the one time, right? Once you understand it once, you'll never have to learn it again in your life. So once you
yeah,
fundamentally understand why it is so, like when I also meet a lot of clients, of course, my clients don't work on Tableau that much, but we have level of detail in Power BI as well, right? So, for example, if I have to do let's say, a customer lifetime value, so I will say fixed customer name, sum of sales. The same
yeah,
thing in Power BI can be translated into, let us say, an average X values customer name, right, with
yeah,
a calculator. But when I show it to them, a lot of clients are not even curious. They don't even ask me, okay, but how is this working, right?
yeah,
And I tell them that's not a good approach, because today you are happy with the result. Tomorrow, if you have to tweak it, what
yeah,
if you hand over the project to a different team member or to a different consultant? They will again have to go back to the drawing board because they have never really understood how it works. So
yeah,
I always insist, and I always tell my students to do this as well. When you're explaining, open an Excel file, right? I
yeah,
mean, I feel at home at Excel, and now Excel is dynamic arrays. So a lot of what you can explain in level of detail, earlier it was not possible, but now you can do this with Excel as well. Now you even have Lambda in Excel. So I tell them that let me explain to you in Excel how it
yeah,
works, because Excel, the beauty is it's very visual.
right,
Whatever you do, you can actually see the steps happening. That
yeah,
is the problem with Power BI and Tableau, that you only write the formula, you either get the result or don't get the result. You never
yeah,
get the chance to know what is happening step by step. Again, that's what works for me. I'm sure for others, they will have their own techniques. But then, if you're not able to explain your formula to somebody, that means you haven't understood it. I mean,
right,
it's as simple as that. And I don't think trial and error approach works well, because you can't just copy stuff from the internet. Because fine, it might work for you one day, but then in the long run, you will never be able to, tweak it and get the results that you want.
yeah.
Any other final advice that you would like to give to BSchool? I mean, since you've been through that journey, both for data analysts and those students who will only have data as a tool in their tool set, any general advice that you would like to give them?
Yeah. I'll just comment on some of the things that you said. That Excel part took me back like 10, 11 years, because this is how exactly I was taught about data structures whenever I got confused. That is exactly how my seniors taught me. And during my course of work, I also take Tableau and Alteryx training. And this is exactly how I teach them about data joins and everything related to data. Because Excel is so underrated when it comes to this. Some of the very most complex, concepts like LODs and grouping of data, summarization, they can be so beautifully. I just write down A, B, C, D, and I put some numbers and tell them how it works. So
Correct.
this is so like very useful. Another thing with respect to Tableau, I'd like to mention is, and I get this a lot of messages on LinkedIn as well regarding this, like how should I start with Tableau? First thing is, there is a book called Storytelling with Data. I'm forgetting the name of the author for some reason, but it's a great book. It's a beautiful investment. You should buy it instantly. It's going to tell you so much about the capabilities of data visualization. If you remember the name, you can say of the author, but I don't remember.
Stephen Pure, right? I'll just
Uh,
quickly check. Or is somebody else?
Storytelling
Doesn't
with
matter.
Data.
I'll add it in the link when the podcast goes.
Yeah. Okay. And the other thing is, specifically for Tableau, if you don't have Twitter or you're already active in Twitter, just follow #DataFam. That is the go-to place for learning Tableau. People are there to review work and help you out if you have any kind of issue, 24 hours, full week. And if you want to really, dig deep into the broader concepts of Tableau, uh, how I learned most of the technique in Tableau is using Workout Wednesday. So they publish weekly, challenges. But for any beginner, I'll ask them to go to like the challenges from 2-3 years back and start working on them. Honestly, once you have done at least 20-30 challenges on the go, and it's going to take some time, you will feel a lot more confident about Tableau, about the tool itself. There are also certain other challenges. You can find them on Tableau Public. Tableau Public, the tool itself is essential. You should download it, create a profile on Tableau Public, start uploading your work there. And there are also other challenges you're mentioning. Basically, Makeover Monday. It's not active right now, but still has a lot of data sets you can work on. You have Sports with Sunday as well. So if you have passion for sports visualization, you can look at those as well. So this is the best way to start and keep working with Tableau. For BSchool students, me myself, so I have gone through the journey myself. And if you are, see, data is a very, it has been an upcoming field, and it's a very, very diverse and a bright field right now. I mean, to be in data is like a really good opportunity for anyone who's interested at this moment of time. And it's going to continue because businesses have started to realize the gold mine that data actually is, and people are going to use it in so many new ways from now. Data is going to be an integral part of your work. Doesn't matter if you are majoring in operations, marketing, anywhere you're going to go, data is going to be, and it is the must weapon that you need to have. Someone who understands data, processes it, is going to, grow by leaps and bounds. It's something that you cannot ignore in any field that you're going to be. So if you have time, take some time out, I'll say, and go through the general, data concepts if you have not already done so, and try to work on, get your Excel your skills good, get some courses done. So Excel can help you, slice and dice some data really quickly. It always helps, and it's the tools readily available everywhere. And I would say, go for data preparation, go for one of the open source tools, R or Python. Basic things are not very complicated to do. And once you, let's say, you are done working with Python or R for 2 or 3 months, it's going to be a great asset for a manager, even for a manager as well. So even if you're a hardcore manager, it's going to help you as well. For data visualization, you have a number of tools. I would recommend Tableau. Power BI is also very nice when it comes to someone who does not have a. So if you have preset charts readily available, so you can work with Power BI as well. So both have their own strength depending upon the nature of field you are working. But do not ignore data. The power, really good to have some kind of data background on your CV. It's going to help in every field of your life.
Thank you so much for all your inputs, Arshad. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you. And best of luck for your work. You are doing real good. And